The human arrived during an argument about moons. "They are clearly ours," said the delegate from the outer spiral, slamming three translucent hands onto the negotiation table. "They orbit us. Orbiting is ownership. Everyone knows this." "By that logic," replied another, adjusting a translator collar that hummed with legal authority, "my anxiety owns me." A ripple of scandalized murmurs filled the chamber. The human stood near the refreshments, holding a glass of something that had tried to escape twice already. He had been in the palace for 6 days, or perhaps 6 minutes. The records were artistically undecided. No one remembered inviting him. Everyone remembered approving him. He took a careful sip. The drink reconsidered. They reached a compromise. At the center of the hall, the queen watched the diplomats spiral toward catastrophe with the patient expression of someone considering whether exile might be restful this season. She looked at first glance entirely human. Then the long, elegant ears lifted slightly, angling toward lies the way instruments turn toward radiation. They mapped the gravitational claim lines, an aide whispered. "I can see that," the queen replied. "No, your majesty, they weaponized asterisk them." Across the room, a general activated a star chart. Constellations rearranged themselves into legal threats. Several ambassadors fainted preemptively out of tradition. The human wandered closer, as though drawn by the ancient force known as awkward proximity. Someone shoved a document into his hands. "Witness this," they demanded. "I'm not qualified," he said pleasantly. "That has never stopped anyone," the general snapped. The human studied the projection. "If everyone owns the moons," he asked, "who owns the shadows?" Silence followed. Deep, existential, extremely expensive silence. The translator collar stalled. The legal AIs requested emotional leave. "Well," someone ventured, "shadows are temporary." "Excellent," said the human. "So is war." A murmur began. Not agreement, heaven forbid, but recalculation. Delegates whispered, advisors computed, a priest updated 3 prophecies and asked for a refund. The queen's ears tilted. "Who is he?" she asked. Her aide checked a tablet. It displayed a helpful message. "Yes." "Yes what?" "Yes, your majesty." She considered throwing it. Meanwhile, the human had acquired a chair by accident. 2 rival envoys leaned toward him, united by the urgent need to disagree. "He implies surrender," one hissed. "I implied tea," the human said. "Surrender usually arrives later, poorly dressed and out of breath." Despite themselves, they laughed. They tried not to. Their species did not do casual amusement during brinkmanship. Somewhere an ancestor filed a complaint. The general cleared his throat. "Human, state your function." The human thought about it. "I attend," he said. "That is not a function. It keeps me busy." The argument lurched, then softened. Proposals shifted from annihilation to tariffs, from tariffs to inspections, from inspections to the possibility that perhaps everyone could go home and write stern letters instead. The queen watched the current change direction and could not locate the engine. She moved toward him at last. Advisors fluttered in alarm, schedules protested, destiny tapped its foot. "You," she said. He looked surprised to be singular. "Me. What is your position in my court?" He glanced around as if hoping someone else might claim him. "Near the drinks." Her ears twitched. Deception, humor, worse, sincerity. "You influence them," she said. "I asked a question." "That is influence." "Then your majesty is the most dangerous being alive." Several nearby officials inhaled so sharply they achieved brief enlightenment. The queen studied him. Ordinary posture, unremarkable clothes. A face designed by evolution to be remembered later and incorrectly. Yet the crisis had bent around him like light avoiding paperwork. "What is your name?" she asked. He opened his mouth. An alarm detonated across the chamber. Redglyph screamed about fleets, borders, and a misunderstanding involving 17,000 missiles and an unfortunate metaphor. Everyone turned away from him. By the time the noise settled into structured panic, the human was once again part of the background, nodding sympathetically at someone who had misplaced a navy. The Queen searched for him. There he was, apologizing to the beverage for abandoning it. Her ears lifted higher, catching a pattern just beyond hearing. "Find out who he is," she told her aide. The tablet brightened. "Yes, asterisk," it agreed. She had the distinct feeling it was laughing. "They are mobilizing," said the Admiral. "They are always mobilizing," the Queen replied. "It is their favorite hobby. Some cultures garden. Some write poetry, they mobilize. Shall I mobilize back? Do you want to?" "No." "Excellent," she said. "Delay heroism until after lunch." Across the strategy chamber, screens unfolded like nervous thoughts. Fleet signatures glittered at the borders, bright, dramatic, terribly convinced of themselves. Advisors spoke in overlapping predictions. A mathematician fainted because the future contained decimals. The Queen listened, ears angled toward catastrophe. "And where," she asked, "is the human?" Her aide consulted the ever-optimistic tablet. "Yes, asterisk," it confirmed. "Stop agreeing with me," she muttered. After a frantic search involving 3 corridors, a diplomatic choir, and an incident with a ceremonial fish, they located him in a side room refereeing an argument about soup. "It is clearly an invasion," said one ambassador. "It is lunch," said the other. "It arrived without notice. That is because you ate the notice." The human raised both hands in surrender. "Perhaps the soup is neutral." "It contains territory," the first ambassador insisted. "It contains vegetables," the second shot back. "Vegetables can be strategic." The human nodded gravely. "Anything can be strategic if you shout at it long enough." They turned to him, startled by their own reflection. "Are you in charge of this?" the first asked. "I hope not," the human said. The Queen entered. Silence rearranged itself. Her ears dipped once, measuring fear, pride, the fragile glassware of diplomacy. "You," she said again. He performed a bow that began confidently and ended in negotiation. "Your Majesty, why are you here?" "I was passing by aggressively." She almost smiled. It escaped sideways. "You were present yesterday when 3 wars became paperwork," she continued. "Today fleets are approaching my borders and you are mediating soup." "High stakes," he said. "If this fails, bread gets involved." The ambassadors, who had been prepared to die, reconsidered. The Queen studied him, pressing past charm toward structure. Events curved around him. Tempers found exits. Disasters misplaced their shoes. "You will come with me," she said. "Am I under arrest?" "Do you deserve to be?" He considered. "Statistically, probably." She brought him back to the chamber. Admirals paused mid-threat. Analysts held their breath in several dimensions. "This is the human," she announced. "Which one?" asked the Admiral. A terrible question. History had many answers. "This one," she clarified. The human gave a polite wave, as though introduced at a wedding where the planets were arguing custody. The Admiral leaned close. "Your Majesty, with respect, we are facing annihilation." "I am aware," she said. "I scheduled it for later." She turned to the human. "Explain them." "Pardon?" "Explain why they should not attack." He blinked. "Me specifically." "You are always nearby when people decide not to," she said. "I want to observe the technique." Every gaze tightened around him. He felt briefly like a theory being peer-reviewed. "All right," he said gently. "Why are they coming?" "To demonstrate strength," the Admiral replied. "Ah," the human nodded. "Then perhaps we should watch." "Watch." Very respectfully, he added. Murmurs flared. "They expect resistance," he continued. "If we provide panic, they are correct. If we provide fury, they are heroes. If we provide applause," he spread his hands. "It becomes awkward." Several officers imagined explaining that to their ancestors. The Queen's ears tilted forward. "Interest, danger, hope wearing someone else's coat. And if they fire anyway?" she asked. "Then we will know something honest," he said. "And honesty is easier to survive than theater." The chamber went quiet. Calculations shifted shape. Probability, offended, requested clarification. The Admiral folded his arms. "This is absurd." "Yes," said the human. "Absurdity is very hard to invade." The Queen looked at him for a long moment. She could feel the future attempting to hurry her. "Open a channel," she ordered. Technicians hesitated, then obeyed. The enemy fleet appeared, magnificent, terrible, waiting for outrage. The Queen inclined her head. "Welcome," she said warmly. "You look formidable. We have prepared admiration." Behind her the human whispered, "And maybe tea." One of the enemy commanders faltered. "Is this a trap?" "Of course," the human murmured. "Hospitality always is." No one fired, not yet. The Queen did not look away from the screen, but she spoke softly. "What are you doing to my history, human?" He answered just as quietly, "Buying you time." Her ears lifted at that, catching something vast moving beneath the moment, something already in motion. And she realized she did not know whether time, once purchased, came with instructions. The Queen canceled 3 emergencies, postponed 2 invasions, and rescheduled the end of the world for a more convenient century. "Find me everything about the human," she said. Her intelligence director inhaled carefully. "Everything, Your Majesty. Yes. Even the things that refuse to exist, especially those." 1,000 archives opened their reluctant eyes, screens filled with files, footnotes, heroic redactions. Dates rearranged themselves like guilty furniture. "Arrival record," the Queen asked. "Yesterday," said an analyst. "Last year," said another. "Tomorrow," whispered a third and requested a transfer to agriculture. The Queen's ears angled higher. "Employment history. He has signed 17 departments," the director replied. "All of them claim he works elsewhere. Medical, perfect." "Impossible," said the Queen. "Yes," agreed the director. "Family," a pause. "He is listed as a distant relative of everyone," the analyst said. "Including you." The Queen blinked. "Delete that." "It deletes back," the analyst said helplessly. Across the palace, the human sat with the security chief, who had reached the final stage of professional despair and brought pastries. "You understand," the chief said, "that every time we scan you, the machine thanks us." "That's polite," the human offered. "It is not supposed to have manners." They drank something hot and mutually suspicious. "Where were you trained?" the chief demanded. "Mostly by consequences," the human said. "That is not an academy. It has excellent retention rates." The chief rubbed tired eyes. "Are you armed?" Emotionally, the human admitted. This did not help. Back in the intelligence chamber, a breakthrough occurred. A junior researcher, dangerously hopeful, discovered a pattern buried under centuries of almost events. "Your Majesty," she said, "look." Moments flickered across the display. Treaties signed at the last breath, wars avoided by interruptions, assassins delayed by misplaced elevators. At the edge of each anomaly stood a figure, sometimes older, sometimes younger, sometimes wearing a hat history later denied. "Always human, is it him?" the director asked. "It might be all of him," the researcher replied. The Queen felt the floor of certainty tilt. "A lineage?" she asked. "Or a job?" said the researcher. The Queen whispered the thought she did not want. "A program." Her ears lowered. No monarchy enjoyed discovering it might be a scheduled outcome. "Bring him," she ordered. They tried. He was in the botanical wing teaching 2 rival senators how not to duel with decorative rakes. "You see," he was saying, "gardening is aggressive cooperation." "This is humiliating," one senator muttered. "Yes," the other agreed. "I feel healthier." Guards surrounded them. "Your Majesty requires you," one announced. "Is she sure?" the human asked. "No," the guard admitted, "but she insists." They escorted him through corridors vibrating with speculation. Staff leaned out of doorways, whispering as though witnessing a comet politely escorted by paperwork. In the throne chamber, the Queen dismissed everyone except the most necessary anxieties. "You are difficult to know," she said. "I try to be available instead," the human replied. "Do not be charming, it interferes with my authority." "Sorry," he said less charmingly, "it was worse." She activated the evidence. 100 almost apocalypses hovered between them. "Explain," she demanded. He watched the images with quiet recognition, like someone remembering birthdays they had hoped to forget. "I arrive," he said slowly, when timing becomes fragile. That is not an explanation. It is the job description. Who employs you? He hesitated, people who would prefer to remain hypothetical. Her ears snapped forward. Are they above me? No, he said gently. They are after you. That landed. You manipulated my court, she said. I asked questions, he replied, which is manipulation with manners. Your Majesty, he said, everyone wanted peace. They simply required permission to admit it. She rose. You presume much. I bet on you, he corrected. Silence widened. You gamble with my empire, she said. With your potential, he answered. She circled him, thoughts tightening. And if I had failed, then I would have failed with you, he said, annoyingly sincere, catastrophically persuasive. Her ears betrayed uncertainty. Outside, alerts pulsed. The fleet still waited. The future remained undecided, tapping its watch. You should have told me, she said at last. Yes, he agreed. Why didn't you? He gave a small, helpless smile. Because then you would have been performing, he said, and you are at your most powerful when you think you are merely choosing. The Queen stopped. Understanding approached, vast and unwelcome. How late am I? She asked. He checked nothing at all. Later than I hoped, he said. Somewhere in the palace, destiny began clearing its throat. Seal the chamber, the Queen said. Fields unfolded with obedient reluctance. Signals died politely. Weapons reconsidered their life choices. The human remained where he was, hands loosely folded, as if awaiting a lecture from gravity. You will now, the Queen continued, tell me everything you should have told me earlier. Yes, Your Majesty, he said. She blinked. That was too easy. I've learned to surrender before the paperwork arrives. Her ears twitched, irritated by humor's ability to survive in serious rooms. Start with the organization, she demanded. Names, structure. Who decided my reign required supervision by an ambulatory coincidence? No one supervises you, he replied. They position weather. I am not weather. No, he agreed. You are climate. She paced once around him. Flattery is treason adjacent. I am very bad at treason, he said. It requires clarity. She stopped. You appear at critical moments. You redirect catastrophe. You influence people who believe they are immune to influence. Yes, how? I listen until they hear themselves. That is not technology. It scales surprisingly well. She activated the projection again. Fleets hovered at the border, magnificent, terrified of embarrassment. They are waiting, she said. Yes. For what? For you to become inevitable. She exhaled through her teeth. I dislike riddles. They dislike them too, he offered. It's why they brought cannons. Her ears angled sharply. You said I am late. Yes. How late? Late enough that everyone has already committed, he answered. Not to war, to pride. That is worse. Usually, he agreed. She studied him, searching for machinery, implants, divine sponsorship. She found a person who had memorized the cost of seconds. You chose me, she said. No, he replied. You kept choosing. Do not romanticize my panic. It was very authoritative panic. She almost laughed, almost. Tell me the truth, she said. If I fail now, what happens? He took his time. That more than anything frightened her. Then the lesson becomes memorable, he said. She closed her eyes briefly. I was hoping for survivable. I am still aiming for that. She moved toward the central console. They suspect manipulation. My allies think I am compromised. My enemies think I am weak. Half my court thinks you are imaginary, which is frankly unhelpful. I can try being louder, he suggested. Do not. Yes, Your Majesty. She opened channels to her ministers. Faces appeared, layered with doubt. You found the source. One demanded. I found a participant, she said. The human lifted a small wave. Several ministers recoiled as though etiquette had attacked them. This individual, she continued, has interfered repeatedly. I prefer assisted, he murmured. She ignored him. Yet every interference prevented catastrophe. That we know of, someone snapped. Indeed, she said, which means we stand at the first disaster that cannot be solved by surprise competence. Uncomfortable agreement followed. "What do you propose?" the Admiral asked. She hesitated. The human did not speak. She realized he would not rescue her from her own authority. "Good. We remove theater," she said. "No threats. No grand speeches. We speak plainly. We admit fear. We offer cooperation before they can dramatize victory." "You want vulnerability," a minister said, horrified. "I want adulthood," she replied. The channel filled with the sound of civilizations reconsidering themselves. When it ended, she turned back to the human. "Well?" she asked. He smiled, proud and worried in equal measure. "That was earlier than I expected. Am I still late?" "Yes," he said softly, "but now you are also first." Outside the sealed chamber, alarms negotiated with hope. Probability loosened its collar. She faced him fully. "If we survive," she said, "you will explain how you intend to prevent this from happening again." He winced. "I don't." "What?" "I prevent worse," he said. She stared. "That is an infuriating mission statement. It keeps expectations flexible." For a moment, they stood together in the narrow bridge between disaster and decision. "Stay," she ordered. "I was always going to," he replied. She nodded once, accepting partnership the way rulers do, by pretending it had been inevitable. "Open the galaxy," she said. And somewhere beyond the walls, history leaned forward to hear how she would pronounce it. "Channel open," said the communications officer, who sounded like someone about to negotiate with a thunderstorm. The Queen stood at the center of her government, aware that history was listening with a clipboard. The human stood beside her, visible now in the way accidents become policy. On the vast projection, the opposing fleet waited, weapons charged with magnificent anxiety. Commanders rehearsed victory expressions. The Queen spoke. "We know why you came," she said. "You came to prove you are not afraid." A pause rippled across light years. "We are also not afraid," she continued. "We are, however, very tired." Several enemy officers glanced at one another, caught off guard by emotional logistics. "We are tired of rehearsing disasters," she said. "We are tired of teaching our children the geometry of shelters. We are tired of pretending pride is nutrition." The human nodded faintly, as if she had solved a puzzle he had only set on the table. "If you require triumph," she went on, "take it. Announce you forced us to negotiate. We will confirm it enthusiastically. Build statues, make them very tall, send us the invoices." Murmurs broke formation among the fleet. One commander leaned toward the transmission. "You would surrender narrative control." "I would outsource it," she replied. The human coughed. "Very modern," she continued. "In exchange, we build something more interesting than victory: trade, transit, shared research, joint complaints about each other." Someone in the enemy formation laughed before remembering rank. "And if we refuse?" The commander asked carefully. "Then you will fire," the Queen said, "and you will win the argument." She let the next words arrive without armor. "And you will lose the future." Silence opened, immense and delicate. The human watched the faces on the projection change from certainty into mathematics, from mathematics into memory. He did not interfere. This was her gravity now. Finally the commander spoke again, softer. "You place much trust in us." "No," she said. "I place responsibility." The channel trembled. Weapons powered down one by one, reluctant, embarrassed, profoundly relieved. Targeting systems discovered hobbies. Around the Queen, officers exhaled in species-specific ways. Someone cried. Someone updated a will into a vacation request. The Admiral approached. "Your Majesty," he said, dazed, "they are requesting docking coordinates." "Give them the scenic ones," she replied. He saluted, then paused. "We did it." "We began," she corrected. The channel closed. The room erupted into stunned laughter, the kind that follows survival and plans to complain about it later. The Queen turned to the human. "Well," she said. "Well," he echoed. "You made a wager," she told him. "You gambled that I would choose correctly." "Yes." "You were reckless, terribly." She considered him, this persistent interruption in the machinery of doom. "Thank you," she said. He accepted it like someone borrowing light. "You were magnificent." I was terrified. Same shape, he replied, her ears lifted, amused. What happens to you now? He glanced upward as if expecting instructions to descend apologetically. Now I become unnecessary, he said. That sounds suspiciously like retirement. It is more of a relocation, he admitted. Another fragile century, someone else who thinks they are merely choosing. She folded her arms. And if I need you again? You won't, he said gently. Confidence, she realized, was also a gift. Around them, ministers argued about hospitality protocols. Engineers proposed collaborative miracles. The intelligence director tried once more to open the human's file. The tablet displayed a final message. Thank you for your service. It then requested tea. The queen watched the human as the palace surged into a future it had almost misplaced. You could stay, she said. He smiled, tempted, human. If I stay, he answered, you might start waiting for me. She hated that he was right. Go then, she said, before I promote you to something fatal. He bowed, cleaner this time, like a sentence finally understood. Your Majesty, he said, you were always going to win. She shook her head. No, she replied, I finally decided to. He left without spectacle. People noticed anyway. The queen returned to the work waiting with hopeful impatience. She felt different, not guided, not predicted, accountable. Her ears rose toward the noise of cooperation, catching arguments already inventing better endings. Prepare reception halls, she ordered, and someone find out how to cook their soup without declaring war. Laughter scattered, bright and busy. Beyond the palace, ships crossed former lines. Messages replaced missiles. The future, having been addressed directly, began answering to her. The queen allowed herself one private thought before duty claimed the rest. Next time, she promised the absence beside her, I will recognize it sooner. Then she went to meet her guests, no longer inevitable but chosen.